I'm Jonathan Rogers, one of the game directors on Path of Exile 2. In Path of Exile 2, you can pick from one of 12 character classes. Each character has a combination of primary attributes that they focus on. Today, we'd like to show off a character who specializes in strength and intelligence, the Druid. In human form, the Druid is a spellcaster who channels the fury of nature on the battlefield, a walking natural disaster. But get up close and you'll find out why the Druid also focuses on strength. You can transform yourself into one of several wild beasts. Today, we want to show off the bear form. Transformation in PoE 2 happens automatically when you use a bear attack. Use Bear Maul and your character will transform into a bear, into a meaty swing. Use a spell and your character transforms back into a human and casts it. Hitting enemies with the Bear's Maul attack will build up rage, which increases your attack damage, so your bear gets stronger with every attack. You can see the glowing runes that indicate rage on your back. Have a lot of weak enemies to take out? This is where you probably want to break out your Rampage. Let out a roar and stampede over all enemies in your path, slamming the ground with your paws. The initial roar generates rage, and then the rage is consumed as you charge along. You can use Rampage by itself to travel a short distance, or do some mauling first to build up some rage and travel a significant distance. Now, while the bear is big and strong, this isn't a pure strength class. You don't have as much armor as a warrior would have. In order to protect itself from larger packs, you might want to consider a skill like Furious Slam. This skill is all about stunning rather than damage, so it's quite useful if you're mobbed by smaller monsters and just need to get out of there. Of course, like any PoE 2 character, you can always use a dodge roll to get out of danger, since the bear is the slowest of the druid's forms. Making sure the dodge feels reliable and can get you out of any situation is paramount. When you dodge in animal form, your character instantly transforms back with no time penalty, so that you can get out of the way. You can even interrupt a mistimed transformation halfway through. Of course, doing this will mean you pay the slight time cost of having to transform back again, but it's certainly a lot better than dying. Something interesting about this skill is that it's faster to use if you're already standing up. If you're on all fours when you use Furious Slam, then the bear has to stand up first before slamming back down. But use Maul first and the bear will stand up as you swing, which has no time penalty. Then follow up with Furious Slam and your bear will quickly slam down. Much more efficient. Next up, I want to talk about Ferocious Roar. Ferocious Roar is a bear meta skill gem. It allows you to take any Warcry skill that another class like the Warrior might use and allow you to use it as a bear. I'm going to take the Seismic Cry gem and socket it into Ferocious Roar. You can actually socket more than one Warcry and use them all together, but let's just stick to one for now. Seismic Cry pushes enemies back and has some stun chance, but the reason we want to use it is for a mechanic called Exerted Attacks. If there are any heavily stunned enemies in range of the Warcry, then your next slam skill will be powered to do double the number of slams. First, I use Furious Slam to stun these enemies. Next, I follow up with Seismic Cry and get the Exerted Attack, and then I slam again. See how 2 slams triggered? So, that's all well and good, but how about we try that again using Rampage? First, get a bit of rage, slam to stun the enemies, Seismic Cry to get the exert, and then rampage around to do insane amounts of damage. So we've covered some of the bear side of the druid, but how is he as a spellcaster? Now of course we want to maximize the amount of time you spend in your animal forms, so most of the spells targeted at the druid tend to be things that last a long time or provide tactical options on the battlefield. The first and probably simplest of these is Lightning Storm. Cast it on the ground and you get an area where monsters are continuously struck by bolts of lightning. The bolts don't do much damage, but they shock monsters, which is a debuff that increases all damage on them, meaning it's a great spell to use before going in as a bear. So, that's going to increase your damage, but as I mentioned before, the bear form of the druid could use some defenses as well. The bear in particular is the slowest attacking of the druid's forms. He hits hard, but if he gets swarmed too much, it will result in your death. That's why Tornado is so useful.
Circle walls!
Tornado sucks monsters in, allowing you to split up packs and deal with groups separately, or pin monsters in place and set up combos with your other skills. The Tornado doesn't really move big monsters much, so you can actually use it to separate a boss from its minions too. The Druid also has the ability to summon animal companions. This is another really useful defense because wolves can take aggro from you, keeping monsters away. In addition, the wolves howl as they are summoned, putting a temporary debuff on enemies that makes them more vulnerable to critical strikes, and giving you a reason to resummon them in combat. The last Druid spell we're going to talk about today is Volcano. You can cast it quickly like this and it will spawn just a few projectiles. Or you can hold down the button to channel it for longer, which will make it fire a whole bunch of projectiles when it spawns, doing a lot more damage. The Volcano sticks around firing its little projectiles for a long time, so it's another good skill to cast before turning into a bear. Now, the reason you're going to want to turn into a bear after using Volcano is that any slam near the Volcano results in it spewing out even more projectiles. And if you thought that was a lot, then Rampage is even better, because it does 2 slams every time it hits the ground, and you can run around the volcano. Now, if you've been paying attention, you might have realized that this is going to be extra good with Seismic Cry, which we were using earlier to double the number of slams. So, first we're going to cast Volcano. Then Furious Slam till you stun something, Seismic Cry to get the double slams, then Rampage around while the Volcano spews out a stupid number of projectiles. This combo would have been even better if we'd remembered to cast our Lightning Storm first, but getting time for that seems tricky. It would also have been nice if the monsters were affected by the crit debuff that my wolves do when I first summon them. This is where some meta gems to automate some elements can come in handy. Here's a gem called Cast While Channeling. If we add Lightning Storm to the skill, we can cast it automatically while we channel a Volcano as we set up our combo. Cast While Channeling is an ongoing effect, so enabling the skill will cost us Spirit, which is a new resource in PoE 2 used specifically for these kinds of skills. If you look at the top left of the screen as we channel, we can see the energy building up to cast the Lightning Storm. So long as we channel Volcano for long enough, the Lightning Storm will also be cast on the same targeted location. Currently, Cast While Channeling is active in reserving Spirit in both our human and bear forms. This means that any channeling skills we use as a bear technically will also cast the Lightning Storm. We can actually do this with Rampage right now, but it's not the best because we would prefer to stack the Lightning Storm on top of our Volcano, rather than just casting it randomly as we're rampaging around. We're also unnecessarily reserving Spirit in our bear form we could be using for something else, so let's fix that. I'm going to go into the skill options for the skill and disable it in my bear form. We showed at ExileCon how you could use skill options to control which weapon set to use when casting skills, but you can also use the same interface to enable or disable which buffs you would like to have active in your different weapon sets too, without having to recast them all the time, and shapeshifting counts as a weapon set. Now when I change to a bear, the effect and the spirit reservation goes away, and when I change back to a human again, it's back automatically. So, now that we have some extra spirit available as a bear, why don't we make our life a little bit easier by automating one of our other skills? This is the Cast on Melee Stun meta gem. I'm going to put Summon Wolf in Cast on Melee Stun, so that whenever I stun a sufficient number of enemies while I'm a bear, it will summon another wolf. This is great because usually when I'm stunning, it's because I'm about to do my exerted attack slam combo. When wolves come out, they howl, adding the crit debuff to the monsters, right when I need it. It also helps keep my wolves alive and summoned at all times without me having to do it manually. So, last but not least, let's talk about the skill tree. At ExileCon we showed how you could dual spec your character so that different weapons can use different passives. Well, as I said before, the bear form counts as another weapon set for specialization purposes, so he gets a tree too. If I open my passive tree, you can see how I'm near a melee damage cluster and a spell damage cluster. By holding shift, I can allocate these passives in my human form, and these ones as a bear. Now, when I change between human and bear form, my passives reallocate automatically, So, here we are at the Blind Beast. The goblins have enslaved a huge behemoth and gouged out its eyes. Now they're sending it in to fight you while they watch.
What have they done to this creature? Suffering ends here. Shameful.
And there we have it. With a little bit of customization, we have a build that can combine many different active skills to do some really interesting effects. At the same time, your skill tree reconfigures automatically at the right time, and your buffs reconfigure automatically as well. You can even cast certain skills automatically. But we also haven't lost the dynamics of combat. Many skills interact with each other, and the ones you choose to use at any different moment depend a lot on what enemies you face or what situation you're in right at this moment. And at just the right time, you might be able to combine all your skills in one crazy combo, get some satisfying screen-covering spam, and do some crazy damage. Now, these are just some of the skills targeted at the Druid in PoE 2. We didn't even show you the wolf form yet. There's a lot more to play and experience, and we look forward to letting you guys try it out when we go into beta on June 7th, 2024.